Welcome everyone to the first workshop of our first day in the conference. We will be having a workshop on employer branding, which is taken by Siddharth Tulli sir. I will give you a brief introduction about sir. He is a certified leadership coach, behavioral skills facilitator, and certified organization development consultant. A Chevening scholar, he has done his post-graduation in management studies from BITS Pilani and advanced studies from Kellogg's Business School, US. He has a certification in organizational development from NTS USA and leadership certification from CFL USA. A person with many parts, curious, organized, deep convictions and values, as well as a keen learner. He is the founder and CEO of People Sculptors, a company devoted to enhancing individual performance, supporting people and teams to achieve their full potential. His list of clients include large MNCs like HP Enterprise, McCain, Philips Public Limited companies, joint ventures like Hindalco, HD Media, Indian Oil, and Hindustan Petroleum, Mittal Energy Limited, and NGOs like SOS India. He has been on the panel of facilitators with Aon, DDI, and Harvard Business Publishing, a subsidiary of Harvard Business School. He has worked in leadership positions for major Indian and multinational organizations like Unilever, RB, L&T, and Heidelberg Cement. As a facilitator and a coach, this quote by Socrates sums up his approach. I cannot teach anybody anything, I can only make them think. Sir, we're delighted to have you over for our conference, and we know this, as we know, as B School students, we have a very high value for employee value propositions because we end up seeing them as competitions in so many different kinds of competitions. So I think this is going to be a very good value addition for all the people attending. Sir, it's all for you to take it away.
All right. Thank you, Abhimanyu, for the nice introduction. And I'm delighted to be with XLRI. In my earlier avatars, I was a frequent visitor to your campus, and it's good to be back again, on a virtual platform. So, we will spend the next 1 hour and 15-20 minutes or so on this very fascinating subject of employer branding, the making of a preferred employer. Well, somebody said that a word is a word, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a brand is worth 1 billion. Okay, so a brand could be a product, a service, a personal brand, and so it could be, it could be various forms and features. So we would be spending a lot of time essentially on employer branding. Right. So an employer brand, as this quote says, is an intangible. However, many tangible practices and behaviors contribute to building an employer brand. It's easy to put it on a piece of paper and say that so-and-so or such and such is our employer brand, but it takes a huge amount of effort to build a brand in a way like this slide shows. It's forged in fire. It takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of effort, and a lot of heat, so to say, a lot of energy to build your employer brand. And that's what we are going to discuss in this webinar. Abhimanyu has already talked about what I do, so I'm going to skip this slide. Essentially, I work in 3 areas now, which is as a OD consultant, and within that I specialize in change management. I'm also a behavioral skills facilitator and a leadership coach. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss today. We will start with what is our understanding of an employer brand, and then we will spend a little time on what is the difference between an employer and a consumer brand. Okay, actually, the employer brand, as we will talk in a little while, owes its genesis to the consumer brand, right? So it's important to understand its lineage. And then we will make a transition to an important concept related to employer branding, which is employee value proposition. And we'll talk about the benefits of building a strong employee value proposition and talking about the experience that an organization offers to its employees. And I'll end by giving you a small exercise. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes, and where you will try and figure out if how could you know whether an organization needs investing in its in improving its EVP. That's what we're going to do in the time that we have got. It's a vast area, and I'm not sure if we can do full justice to this subject in just about an hour's time, but let's see. May I request all of you to keep your cameras on? It's not a very pleasant experience staring into a blank wall. But if sometimes your bandwidth doesn't permit, then you may switch it off and keep your mics on mute. And it's a very interactive session, so you can send me messages on the chat box. You need not wait for the end of the session to ask me questions. You could unmute yourself, or you could send me a chat message. I'll keep an eye on the chat box. And I'll open the whiteboard from time to time, where I would invite your interaction on many areas. So it's a very, very interactive workshop. It's not a lecture. I'm not going to put you to sleep. I know the time of the day is when you feel like going to sleep, but I would try and keep it very interactive. Okay. So let's begin with this one. Let's talk about this slide. I've shown you the logos of 4 different organizations in different sectors, also from automobiles to IT to FMCG. So I'll open the whiteboard in a moment. So I want you to quickly tell me what attributes or words come to your mind when you hear or when you look at the Maruti logo or the Apple or the Tata or the Coca-Cola logo. Okay, so let me open the whiteboard, and we can begin with Maruti, and let's just quickly put down 4 or 5 attributes which come to your mind when the Maruti logo comes up. Okay, so go ahead and start sending me the chat messages or unmute, whichever is good for you, and then I will do Apple, and then I will do Tata, and then
so reliability.
Okay, so this is for Maruti, you say?
For Maruti.
Okay, Maruti. Okay, let me put a green one here. Okay, 1 minute. Right, reliability. Okay, go ahead. Some more. Economical. Somebody said economical. Okay. Low cost. Okay. What else? Let's have a few more. Let's not go to Coke at the moment. Okay, so let's have some order here. Okay, let's stay with Maruti. Okay, and then I'll go to Apple. Otherwise, with so many of you, 80 participants, it'll be difficult for me to manage. So quickly, let's just do a few more for Maruti. Okay, one or two more. Can you please? And when you put your message chat box, let us know which brand are you referring to.
Efficient.
Efficient. Okay. Let's have one more, and then we will move to Apple.
Low maintenance.
Low maintenance. Okay. All right. All right, let's go to Apple now. Okay.
Sir, innovation.
Let me change the color. 1 minute. Let me change the color. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
So for Apple, I would go with innovation.
Innovation. Yes, that's the first word which strikes you when you talk of Apple. Okay.
Luxury.
Luxury. Right. Okay. I think you speak out. Otherwise, I'm not able to keep track of the chat box because there are too many messages coming. Okay. Quickly, Apple, a few more.
Simplicity.
Simplicity of design. Right. Okay. That's a good one. Okay.
Premium.
Premium. It's a premium brand. Okay. Right. Anything else? A few more.
Quality, sir.
Quality. Yeah, that's a good one. Again. Okay. One more.
Customers trust.
Customers trust. Try right. Trust for customers trust. Okay. Let's go to Tata now. Okay. What about Tata?
So trust. Again, I think that's the
Somebody
first
said
one.
in the chat box ethical.
Values.
I'm sorry.
Loyalty.
I need to change the color. 1 minute. Okay. So. What is that? Ethical, then value.
Loyalty.
Value. Okay. Okay.
Heritage.
Sorry.
Heritage.
Heritage. Okay.
Loyalty.
Affordability.
Loyalty. Okay. Few more.
Diverse.
Diverse. Okay. That's a good one. What else? One more. Legacy, somebody said. Okay, let's go to Coke. Okay, let me change the color. Okay, let's go to Coke.
Youth.
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
Happiness.
Okay, then what's the next one?
Happiness.
Happiness. Right. Yeah. What else? What else? What else do you associate with Coke?
Youth.
Togetherness.
Sorry, togetherness, camaraderie. Okay. A few
So
more.
youth.
Youth has come up already. I've written on the whiteboard. Are you people able to see the whiteboard?
So it's not been updated yet.
Oh, that's
A
why.
little time to get updated.
It takes
But it's
a lag which comes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. A few more on Coke. I put youth, happiness, togetherness, euphoria. Okay, which is happiness in a way. Okay. Let's have one or two more.
Dynamic.
Dynamic. Okay. Somebody put diversity. Is diversity also for Coke? Did you say that? Okay, diversity. All right. Okay, so here are your associations. Here are your associations with these consumer brands. Okay, with these consumer brands, and they're different, right? With whether it's youth and happiness for Coke, it's efficiency and reliability for Maruti, and ethical and legacy for Tatas, and innovation and premium and simplicity, luxury for Apple. So this is how, in a very simplistic way, we associate the brands. But what is a brand? Can anybody talk about what's a brand? When we say it's a brand, what do we mean by that? Freshness.
It's the unique identity.
That's right. Very good. Go ahead. So brand is a unique identity, right? Nilaksh says it's a unique identity. So, one of the definitions of a brand is that a brand can be a name, it can be a term, it can be a design, it could be a symbol which differentiates or identifies one seller's goods or services as distinct from that of another seller. This is the Wikipedia definition, okay, which is widely prevalent. So Apple could be innovative, could be freshness, and Tata's could be ethical, right? So let's build on this concept and talk about employer branding. So, I'll just talk about employer branding. Actually, the term employer branding came from, I have a slide somewhere, came from brand management. Okay, it can be traced to the 1990s, where there was an academic paper which was written by Simon Barrow and Tim Ambler in the Journal of Brand Management, and they were looking to test the application of brand management techniques to HR, and that's how the name employer brand came about. So it's a spillover from consumer brand, and just like a consumer brand, the employer brand is your reputation, is an organization's or the employer's reputation and the distinctive strengths that any organization projects to the outside world, to the people, to its current employers, to potential employees, and it's what differentiates its business and helps them to attract new hires or applicants. Okay, so let's build upon that. Another way to look at employer branding is that it's the ability of an organization to attract, retain, and motivate people and deliver high levels of customer satisfaction. I was fascinated by Apple. Okay, a lot of organizations have done work on building their employer brand. Way back in the 90s, Apple used to talk about it, differently. And it's used to say, we are different. The tagline was, we are different. Because what happened is, in the 80s and early 90s, when the iPhones, etc., were not there, they had gone into the computing business, and more than 90% of this business was dominated by IBM. And then they started saying that we are different, and they kind of projected, and I'll show you that version of their organizational identity and employer branding at that point in time in a little while. And they were attracting rebels. They were attracting people who would do things differently. But now, recently, not even a year back, they have changed their employee branding. And I liked their video, and it's a short one, so I can play it in the workshop. So I'll try and play a short video about employer branding from Apple. But this is what their website talks about. Their website talks about an open, join us, be you. Be you means, be your authentic self. And they say it's an open invitation to open minds. And they talk about, come to Apple where thousands of individual imaginations gather together to pave the way for innovation. Here you will do more than join something. You will add something. You will contribute. Okay. So what I want you to do is, I'll play this video. The commentary of the video sometimes is difficult. So if you want me to replay the video, I'll do that because it's only a minute. Okay? So don't worry about that. I can replay so that I can hear what is being said, right? The subtitles are not there, so you'll have to hear clearly. And if you want, I can replay it. So what you have to answer after you watch this video is, what kind of job seekers would be attracted by this video? What kind of applicants would be attracted when they see this video of Apple? Okay, so I'm going to give me a moment. I'll open the file. Okay. Sometimes there's a lag. Okay. So you have to let me know. If the video is playing properly. Let me just change the settings. Okay, so I'm going to play this. Just see if you are able to see this clearly and hear it clearly.
Sir, we are able to see it. I'm not so sure about hearing the audio.
Beg your pardon?
We can hear the audio, sir. We can hear it.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It's
I'll play it once again. So you try and catch it. Okay, let me replay it once more since some of you said they couldn't hear it. Okay, I think the words are powerful and it's a unique video because the entire video is within their logo. Okay, and they are not showing too many people. All right, let me quickly replay it again. Okay, I'm gonna switch to the whiteboard. Okay. Were you able to see the video properly?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want you to tell me quickly what kind of job seekers would be attracted by this video. I mean, you heard the video, you saw it. So what kind of job seekers would be attracted after seeing this video?
So before you go ahead, I think there was an issue on my end. Would it be okay if you could put the link of the video in the chat box? I'll be able to view it then.
Okay,
I'm able to hear it. Thank
I'll
you.
try and do that. Okay.
Thank
Because I have downloaded it. Okay. So if you go to the Apple new video, you should be able to see it. Okay, it's not a difficult one. Just go to YouTube. Okay.
Oh, sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. What kind of applicants is Apple inviting?
Somebody creative,
Okay,
out of the box thinking,
out of the box thinkers.
People who
Right.
like to experiment.
Sorry, people who are experimenters. Okay,
Someone who's willing to take a risk.
willing to take risk. Right.
Developers, software engineers.
So any developer, any software engineer. I know. I mean, that's a broad category, or a particular kind of developer, software engineer. Okay. So what other words come to your mind?
modeling the phone,
Unafraid.
You know, the
Beg
one
your-
who designs, design engineers.
Oh, so all kinds of design engineers, or a specific kind of design engineers?
Someone who is perceptive and inquisitive.
Yes. Okay. Makes sense. Yes. Okay.
Someone
Quickly walk.
visionaries. It talks about vision.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right.
Basically, the one who want to keep on reinventing themselves.
Yes. 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 Is it one who like typecast job descriptions, tight-fitting job descriptions, or is it one who don't bother about job descriptions? Loose job
Non-conformists,
Open.
Yes. Right.
rebels and non-conformists.
Rebels. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I think you're getting it. You're getting it. Okay. So let me go back. So I wanted to show you that these are the ways in where a good employer talks about who it is, and I think this is a good video, so which captures the essence of employer branding. So the intention is to attract job seekers who are rebels at heart, who think outside the box, who don't stick to conventional wisdom, and who want to do something amazing. Okay. So this is what I was talking to you, that the employer brand is a recent phenomena. Okay. I would say post 2000. And as I said earlier, it's a spillover from brand management. And let me open the, okay. And after that, it has evolved. And in the early 2000, the reputation of the organization, organization with ethical practices and stable growth was what was used to attract employees. And then this kind of shifted to communication. Okay. So with the advent of technology, the emphasis was put on communication of values, people practices, and accomplishments of the organization. And then ultimately, today we talk more about employee experience, okay, which is the focus of creating and living the employer brand. And, so the organizations need to present to prospective employees the opportunities and the environment which is in line with their brand and what is being communicated. So that's the kind of, in brief, the evolution of the employer brand. Very quickly, I want to move from employer brand to employer brand positioning. So here, what I have put is that just as the consumer branding or marketing promotes the organization or its products and services to potential and existing consumers for purchase, the employer branding also is a process by which an organization promotes itself as a preferred employer to current potential employees. Similarly, the USP of a brand is its competitive advantage. It is its market perception, right? And the EVP. So I'm introducing a new term here, which is the employee value proposition. So the employee value proposition is the USP of the employer brand. It is those attributes which create that value that employees gain through employment. So if employer branding is the market perception, then EVP is the marketing content. And from a marketing perspective, just imagine the employer organization is a product or a service. Just imagine that an employer organization is the product. The employer branding is the marketing perception of that product. Okay. And the EVP, or the employee value perception, is the marketing content. Okay, very quickly, example from Nike. Nike is in the marketing and sales of footwear, apparel, and accessories. What is this USP? Just do it. Okay, the swoosh logo. What is the employer brand as an organization? Bringing inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you are an athlete. And its EVP is, we are the people that do. We lead, we invent, we deliver. We use the power of sport to move the world. Organizations which invest in their employer brands are 3 times more likely to make a quality hire. And this slide kind of makes a distinction between employer brand versus employee value proposition. So as I said, employer brand is a process through which organizations promote themselves as preferred employer. But the EVP is the offer of experience. Okay, you will get a fast track growth. You will get a collegial work environment. You will experience exceptionally high quality of management. That is the offer of experience in an EVP. And it's a mix of tangible elements, attributes. And I'll talk about it in just about a moment. And EVP is why people value working in the organization, and it is the bedrock of employee branding. One of the research talks about 16 employee value proposition attributes, okay, which relate to your compensation, your benefits, your culture, your future opportunities, your career progression, learning and development opportunities, sustainability, diversity. Okay, so this is an exhaustive list of attributes which you could include in your employee value proposition. And coming back to EVP for one more time, this is a psychological contract between the employee and the employer, and it articulates the unique experience that the employee can expect from their employer above and beyond the contractual terms. Okay, I'll pay you so much. Okay, but this is you will have so much of vacation. So that's what is written in the contract. But this is a unique experience beyond the appointment letter, which EVP offers. And it could be, I talked about 16 attributes, but here I have clubbed it into 5 or 6. So, an EVP is a collective expression of your delivery on each of these attributes. For example, opportunities. Opportunities could be, what are the career opportunities that an organization offers? There are many organizations. I worked in Unilever. It was a career, you join. Many of the public sectors, by the way, have a career opportunity. I started my career with the PSU, and a lot of people are now retiring as directors of PSU. So, in that organization. So it could be the career opportunities, the developmental opportunities. Unilever gave me a huge amount of developmental opportunities. I was in IR, I was in compensation, I was in corporate communications, I was in learning and development. So all those kinds of well-rounded growth opportunities were presented. In terms of reward, it could be your benefits, it could be your comp, it could be your vacation. And in terms of organization, it could be sustainability, it could be product quality, it could be empowerment. When it comes to people, it could be the senior leadership quality. It could be the camaraderie within the organization. It could be the managerial quality within the organization. And when it comes to work, it could be the job impact. I was recently talking to one younger colleague of mine in an earlier organization, and he said that, no, sir, I can feel the impact. He was in the reinsuring industry, and he said that I can see the impact of my decision when I go and audit an organization, whether it qualifies for reinsurance or not. I know whether we will be able to do it, and I can clearly see the impact my decisions are having on the job. So that's part of the work-life balance that the job presents to you. The business travel. Okay, I joined one. I was in one large FMCG, and I was part of the global compensation team. And I tell you, the best part of that job was that every 2 months or so we would meet in some other part of the world, and half a day of those 3 days was devoted to just getting familiar, which is a euphemism for a holiday with that city, whether it was a Madrid or Paris or Toronto. So I happen to see the whole globe. So even that could be, that part of the work could be an EVP attribute, right? Trying to conclude on EVP, which is that this employee value proposition is an expression of your employment experience, and this is what differentiates the employment offer. And important part is that of late we are seeing a greater amount of alignment of the employer brand with the employer value proposition with the corporate brand, okay, with the identity of the organization. And you can see this very clearly in many organizations like Apple. I'm going to talk about that. And very importantly, it has to be embedded in your HR activities. The way you promote people, the way you recruit people, the touch points of recruitment, the recruitment experience, the opportunities for growth, all these are kind of embedded in your HR activities. And ultimately, it helps you to attract the right talent, and it drives the employee engagement and retention. So let's take a look at a few examples here. Okay, are there any questions so far? Okay, let's take the example of Google. Okay, so what is the employer brand of Google? Do cool things that matter. Okay, and what are the EVP attributes out of those 16? It's work-life balance, it's creativity, it's a great campus experience. You may be sipping a strawberry shake with cherries dipped in honey, right? You have fantastic campus experience, chefs preparing your food. You could lie down on a beanbag and work. So that is the EVP attribute: diversity and opportunities for growth and innovation. So those are some of the EVP attributes, and it does that. It ensures that these are not words. For example, its career page resembles the homepage of a tech magazine. It includes a lot of stories about employees, the videos of the organization, vision, and work culture. And they ensure that innovation is not just a claim, but a theme that is incorporated in their content. So, for example, integration of job postings. So if there is a job posting of a site reliability engineer, by the side of them, they would have an interview with a site reliability engineer who he or she may talk about what is it to do that kind of a job. So they kind of integrate that and then people are allowed to put their real life stories of their experience of achievement and entrepreneurship, innovation of the within the organization onto their website. So that's about Google. Here, I just remember in the beginning of the session, I was talking about Apple, and I said that this is the EVP positioning of the of Apple many years ago. Okay, and because they were not the dominant player in the computing industry, they came out with this slogan saying, "Think different," and they said that if 90% of the market was captured by the likes of IBM, only the rebels would come to them. Okay, people who thought differently, and then they said that the people who would work in our organization are also the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the one who sees things differently, not so much fond of rules, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. It's a kind of a reflection on the founder of that organization. I really love this one. You know, I was talking about, we started with consumer brands, we came to employer brands, and we came to EVP, and before the consumer brand is the identity of the organization. What we are seeing is that a greater synergy or a greater harmonization of the communication messaging across these 4 or 5 things. So there is a unification of the corporate identity with the corporate brand, with the employer brand, with the experience that people can have, and this is a great example of that. Carlton chain of hotels. They beautifully said, "We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen." So they are treating their employees as ladies and gentlemen. Their customers are ladies and gentlemen. And if you look at the employee promise, they're talking about the attributes. Remember, I showed you the attributes. So attributes they value. They want to amplify the attributes that they will differentiate with, let's say, a Marriott. Okay, would be a work environment where diversity is valued, where the quality of life is enhanced, where the individual aspirations are fulfilled, and ultimately the Ritz-Carlton mystique is strengthened. So that's the kind of alignment with the corporate brand which is happening at Ritz-Carlton. Now, I want to request you to pay attention to the following slides. The next few slides are numbers, okay, is data. I want to amplify a few points. I want to give you a few insights about employer branding and EVP through data. Now, you may question this data, but by and large, this is still true. So the first set of slide talks about a managed EVP, an organization like Ritz-Carlton or an Apple, which manages its EVP, which builds on its differentiation of experience. So what happens is that on the x-axis, you can see very passive candidates and very active candidates. Can you see on the x-axis? Okay, and here is the degree of job seeking market on the y-axis. So the passive candidates, as you would know, don't actively seek out a job. Okay, they are happy where they are. They are engaged with the organization. Those organizations which have passive candidates have a high retention. And then there are candidates who are constantly seeking. They are very active. They're active on job portals and active with referral groups, etc. So when you manage your EVP well, okay, it helps you to source deeper in the labor market, in the employee market, by increasing your access to passive candidates. So with managed EVPs, you are able to source more than 60% of the market compared to unmanaged EVPs, where you are not able to source that much. Okay, so this is the first point that I want to make. The second point that I want to make is is this, that if you have an attractive EVP, you can leverage your brand. You can leverage that experience which you offer to your employees and offer a lower compensation, because people want, everybody wants a good salary, but people would trade off a part of their salary if you were telling them that here is a great opportunity for you to further your career and you'd enjoy working with us. And so if you look at the attractive EVP, maybe just about 11% of the increase in compensation is required. Whereas if you are not managing your EVP properly, you require a much higher increase in compensation. The third insight, which I want you to tell me, what do you pick up from this slide? Okay, on this slide, what I have shown is, a poor versus excellent EVP delivery, and plotting it with the high levels of commitment in the organization. So anybody, what is the insight that you draw from this slide? What is the insight that you draw from this slide? Anyone?
So when an employee stays in an organization, like, for more than, 12 months, so there will be an excellent employee commitment,
Is that
Sir,
is that
may I
what
give it a shot?
you? One minute, Name, let me just go back to the young lady. I didn't get her name.
I'm Joan.
So say it again. See carefully. See the chart carefully. You might want to look at it again. Go ahead. So here, what I have shown is that two types of employees. One who's just a baby in the organization, infant in the organization, less than 1 month of tenure.
Okay.
And the other one is who's an employee who has spent a year in the organization. Okay, so their levels of commitment are different. So go ahead. Now you make your comment.
Yes. See, likewise, I said who has been in the organization for, like 12 months. They have an excellent commitment.
No, so people who are there in the, can you see the annotation that I'm drawing on the whiteboard? This is 31. So for 12 months, this is 31. Okay. And it is 31 relating to whom? Which set of employees are these? With excellent EVP delivery or poor EVP delivery?
No, these are excellent EVP delivery.
Right. Yeah. And here what is happening?
Here it's 38, less than 1 month. So it's high. Yeah. Okay, I get the point now.
So what's the point?
So it's like, listen, when they come inside, so, so this drives the employee commitment. So whatever the EVP the organization gives, okay, this drives the commitment. When they enter.
Anybody else wants to take a shot at it?
Sir, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I might be wrong here, but I think the graph over here showcases the two time, like the comparison of the percentage of employee, commitment to the organization. So first set talks about an employee who has been a part of this organization for less than a month, and it showcases the comparison between the level of commitment of an employer who has had an excellent EVP delivery and an employer who has had a poor EVP delivery. The same is compared with a 12-month period to showcase that over time, the poor EVP delivery employer has the commitment has fallen drastically, while even while in the excellent EVP delivery employer, the percentage of commitment has fallen, but it is comparatively much higher, and the degree of fall in commitment has also been quite low. So while it's and I believe that's the inference I'm getting from this.
Okay, so that's right, that the level of engagement, okay, in a way, engagement is your commitment to the organization, one of the components. Okay, so the commitment of new employees, it veers with a bit of time, and that's another discussion. But the point really is not that here, Name. Anybody else wants to talk about it? What is the point that I'm trying to drive here? Look at these two graphs. What I'm saying is that the very fact, and you alluded to it, Name, the very fact that you have a high, excellent delivery of high EVP delivery means that you are able to engage people more. You are able to drive commitment to a much higher level. Okay, so it's correlated. So organizations with the most effective EVPs have 30 to 40% of employees displaying high levels of commitment compared to less than 10% in organizations with less effective EVPs.
Sir, can I make a comment over here, if that's okay? A doubt as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sir, could it be that the reason why the level of commitment is so high in regards to an organization with a high EVP is that like they're able to segment their employees very carefully? For example, a company that has a poor EVP is not able to keep the engagement high for the simple reason being that the employees might have a different idea of the organization since there's no EVP delivery. While a company like Apple gets the employees that are already aware of the kind of commitment that's going to be asked by them. Does that make any sense? Is that
brilliant point? No, that's a brilliant point, and I'm going to come to it. The promise versus delivery. Okay, when you join an organization, I say you'll be able to do this. But when Name joins it, he finds that no, all that was hogwash, right? So that's another point which I'm going to come in a moment. I'll show you a graph on that. Okay, but that's a very important point, and thank you for this brilliant question. Okay, what do you make out of this slide? Quickly, okay, we are slightly behind time. I want you to quickly tell me, and some other people, okay, who have not participated. And you can put on the chat box, or you can, what's your insight when you see this slide? What's your insight? On the x-axis, sorry, on the y-axis, I've put all the attributes, okay? And on the x-axis is the market awareness of those attributes. That means that 36% of the employment market is aware that such and such organization is a fairly stable organization. It's not going to go anywhere, okay? Whereas only 20% of the market is aware of the quality of your managers, okay? So what is your insight into this? What's your insight when you see this graph? Anyone who's not answered so far, and there are 80 people on this call. Go ahead.
Sir, we can say that the organizations are able to communicate the kind of organization or the stable job they are providing or the compensation they are providing, but they are not able to communicate.
Can you put your camera on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. That's better.
Yes, sir. But they are not able to communicate to the job market the kind of supervisors or the work environment they will be providing to the new employees.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Anybody else? If you are a marketing manager, you're launching a new product. What will you try and do? Would you launch a product which are dime a dozen in the market, or would you launch a product which differentiates itself, which gives that product a competitive advantage?
Sir, can I have a go, if that's okay?
Yeah, I don't want Namit, you to dominate. I want others to also come up. But if
Sure,
nobody
sir,
answers,
sure.
then you will get a shot. Okay,
Sure.
go ahead. I thought I was speaking to XLRI. Take a shot at it.
Yes, sir. I'll give it a try. So
okay, put a camera on.
Yeah. Am I visible?
Yeah, Tushar.
Yeah. So, sir, when you're talking about a product or what my company would offer, yes, I would go for something which is very different, which is not out there, and maybe in the same market or sector I'm competing with. Maybe from the talking about the HR perspective, maybe in the IT, but I'll stand out in some perspective when it comes to EVP.
Okay. Yeah, Naman, quickly, very quickly.
Yeah, sir. Again, so from the slide you mentioned, EVPs look the same. I feel like through the graph what you're trying to showcase is that EVPs in regard to like promoting organizational stability, compensation, etc., are something that are highly utilized by a lot of organizations. Therefore, if you are going for an effective EVP, you need to look in areas that can give you a niche market.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to stop you there. Yeah, very good. So many organizations struggle to differentiate their EVP. Okay, so like a product manager, a brand manager, you would need to learn to differentiate your EVP and have something which none of your competitors are having. I'm going to show you a slide. Okay, so for example, only 33% of the candidates have a strong sense of compensation, something like compensation. People don't even have. I can talk more about it, about how I was deluded by one organization about compensation. Okay, when they made the offer, they said this, but ultimately it proved wrong. So the point is that and awareness of other attributes like the collegial work environment, developmental opportunities is far less. So I think this is a failure of your communication, of your inability to generate that awareness about your core EVP attributes. It's not enough to say that these are our core EVP attributes. You have to work towards communicating them as well. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Are there examples you can give us of companies that failed in their attempt at generating a sort of EVP in a?
Oh, there are so many. There are so many. I didn't have time. So, I'll give you my example. I joined an organization where a big part of my package, my salary was long-term benefits, which is ESOPs, right? And that organization very smartly added that to my CTC. Okay, so that was not a problem. But what they did not tell me at that time is that there is a bond attached to it, right? And this will be available only when such and such conditions will happen. And if you leave, then you'll have to repay it back, which completely then you are reducing the value of that compensation element which you are giving. I don't want to name that organization, okay, but if you do that, one is that you get your variable pay after 12 months, you get it in cash. That's it. One is that you get it, and then if you leave, you will have to pay the entire thing back to the organization within 2 years. So that reduces that creates a disillusionment. Okay, I was cheated. I was cheated. Okay, many people come and tell me that I was told in the interview that I would in 1 year's time move up to this level, but there is no sign, there is no initiative by the organization that I will get that job. Okay, so all that is creates a disillusion, and I'll talk more about it here on this slide. This is the EVP reality versus expectations, which again, if you look at this, is most organizations and Varun, this is the point that you were making. Many organizations fail to deliver the benefits that they promise to their employees, whether it is in terms of career opportunities or developmental opportunities or compensation. Okay, so on the y-axis, I've got percentage of employees reporting strong delivery of EVP. imagine only 21% of the, look, I'll give you an example of my son, right? And I told him to be careful about variable pay, okay? Many organizations, I'll talk about compensation because that would be very close to many of your hearts, right? You know, when I was a comp manager at one point in time of my life and a recruitment manager. So you want to build up your compensation as much as you can. And you say, this is the compensation that you can offer. Okay. One is misleading people by the maximum variable pay that can happen. Okay. That's never done. You have to only say at the target value. Okay. One organization had 40% as a target and 144% as the peak. So you should not include the maximum variable pay that you can get. You can only talk about the target compensation of the variable pay. Well, that's another point. The thing is that if you include this in your package, the employee will assume that, let's assume that this only the target variable pay that has been included in the total compensation offer. What happens if your organization fails to deliver on the variable pay? I'm not talking of a one-off year. I'm talking of organizations which include variable pay as part of the compensation, but fail to deliver either completely or partly variable pay year after year. There is one organization where I worked which never paid variable pay for the last 7 years. If the candidate is naive, what will he assume? And it's such a big disappointment because variable pay could be 25-30% of your package, of your overall compensation. Okay, so here what I'm showing is that more than 50% of the employees indicate that organizations fail to deliver on the less tangible aspects of the EVP, such as developmental opportunities, future career opportunities, respect, and managerial quality. They fail to deliver. They may write it there, words on the employment letter or in the posters in the organizations, but they are not practicing what they are preaching. Varun, have I made my point clear to you?
Yes, indeed. I would actually have a follow-up question. Why do they fail? But I think, I don't know if maybe.
Sorry, why do they say it? Why do they say it? People make claims. Don't politicians make claims? They want to win votes. They want to get you to join them.
Sir, when we compare this graph and the previous graph, we see that they are able to communicate compensation well and they are not able to deliver. On the other hand, collegial work environment, they are not able to communicate, but they are able to deliver.
Yeah. So it's possible. It's possible. Sir. It's possible. Okay, so this graph is showing who was asking Nasrul. This graph is showing that if I worked in an organization which was very aggressive, which meant that it had a very high component of variable pay, right? So when you are joining the organization, you can see that out of the entire compensation that is being delivered to you, 60% is being delivered in the form of variable pay, right? So that the awareness is there, but is the delivery there? It's not there. Okay, you may say that we give opportunities, we will take you to here and there and give developmental opportunities, but then if you fail to deliver, it will result in a disenchantment of the employment experience, and that's why I'm behind time. It's important to ensure the delivery of your EVP. You have a few EVP attributes, but please try and deliver. You will never be able to deliver 100%. Okay, but as much as you can, a higher amount of delivery. Okay, very quickly. Again, I'm borrowing from, you guys study strategy, right? So this is a 2x2 matrix of what you see on strategy management in terms of competitive advantage and competitive disadvantage. So on this axis is the competition, is the talent market. Okay, so many companies vying for talent from XLRI. Okay, and here is one organization's EVP position: Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Coke, whichever comes to you for recruitment. So I have plotted that if you have a well-positioned EVP, and the market, in the market also all the companies have a well-positioned EVP, then you have a competition parity. On the other hand, if you have a poorly positioned EVP and the market, the companies have poorly, you have competitive parity. But you will have a competitive disadvantage if the market is well positioned, like in FMCG, but your organization is not able to have a well-defined EVP, and you will have a competitive disadvantage. But the reverse is the case when you have a competitive advantage where your competition is poorly positioned and you are well positioned. Okay. I wanted to do a poll, but I'm completely out of time. So why don't you put your, okay, let me try and open the poll. Okay, let me see if I can open the poll. So you will have to quickly participate. I will close the poll very fast. Okay. Okay, I'm going to open the poll. You'll have to quickly click A or B. Okay. Quickly click A or B. I'll close the poll in 10 seconds. I'm going to close the poll. 50 of you haven't responded. 40 haven't responded yet. I'm in the poll now, but I'm disappointed that more than 30 people haven't responded. Okay, so I think you've got it bang on, right? Right? Out of all the people who responded, most of them are saying that EVP is all the benefits that an employer provides his employees or his or her employees they're attracting candidates. So I'm going to skip the other question and go to this aspect. I want you to do an exercise for 10 minutes and then I'll wrap up the session. Okay. So, you would be tasked with building an EVP, and the 4 steps of building an EVP are assess, okay, or evaluate your EVP to prioritize your investment. That's the first part of it. Okay. You do a diagnosis. The second step is that based on this diagnosis, you have to design a compelling and a differentiated EVP. And the third one is you have to communicate this EVP to the people. Okay. Your talent acquisition managers are great ones at communicating that experience, and then you have to deliver. We discussed this aspect about delivering your experience. And I want to spend another 10 minutes before I close the session. This is the last part of this webinar. Let me just close this one. Okay, so I want you, how many of you are 80? So I'll break you up into 5 groups, okay? So 15, 16 in each. What you have to do in your breakout groups is, how can you determine, how can you assess if you need to invest in improvements to your EVP? In your breakout groups, you have to assess, how can you determine if you need to invest in improvements to your EVP? For example, and just give me, each group give me 2 to 3 questions. That's fine. Okay, 3 to 4, let's say 3 to 4 pointers to assess. For example, you can say one of the pointer could be, is traffic to our website lower than desired? Okay, that is a pointer. which shows that my EVP is low. Then you can also ask, do we rely heavily on search firms for sourcing candidates? That could also be an indicator whether your EVP is low, or if you're excessively relying on search companies, EVP seems to be a bit low. Do less than, another question could be, do less than 30% of our new hires come through referrals? Referrals is a great one. If you have a good EVP, you'll get a good catch in your referrals. And research after research has shown that the engagement and retention of candidates which come through employee referrals is far higher than what comes from the open market. Another question could be, do recruiters and hiring managers communicate the EVP inconsistently or inaccurately? So I'm giving you a few examples. This should stir your mind, and I will now break you up into groups. I will give you 7 minutes only, okay? Ideally, I should give you 2 minutes because I'm running out of time, but I'll give you 7 minutes. Quickly, one person from each group, should quickly read out their questions, okay? And do it quickly. I don't have time. So I will make you into 5 groups. There you go. So once you know how to do it, so you have to join the groups, okay? And if some people are left out because of network issue, bad luck. Go ahead.
Sir, what all are we left to cover?
We're done. After this, I'll wrap up.
So just the slide before, if you could elaborate a little bit more on as to how to structure the EVP, that would really be good for everyone.
I explained. Let them just come out with a few questions.
All right.
Now they will not be able to hear. Once I have broken them, I have put you into groups, right? All the groups are formed. Why some of you are left out?
No, sir, we purposely did not go.
Oh, okay, fine. So now I let's see what they do. Okay, I'll kind of they have to tell us how will they determine whether you need to invest in the improvements. I'll just go to each of the groups quickly and see if what are they doing.
Sure.
All right. We have 9 minutes before I close the session. Very quickly, how did you find, how was the experience? How was the experience of?
It was great, sir. It was very enriching.
Okay, so tell me quickly your points, okay? Put it in the chat box.
The answers, right, that we just discussed?
Yes, yes, sir. Quickly, group number 1. Let me just quickly go. Quickly. Group number 1, one representative to speak out. We don't have time. Just shoot.
Sir, we're not sure which group we were. Can you please?
Okay, doesn't matter. Shoot.
Sir, attrition rates, employee life cycle surveys.
So what? Look, Anushka. Attrition rate is a vague statement.
Okay.
Sir, I was part of that group. I'll just
Let Anushka attempt. What about attrition? Attrition high, low?
High attrition rates would indicate that our EVP may not be getting delivered as much as we'd like it to.
Okay, one more, and we some other group person.
So what is it that employees look on websites like Glassdoor before they make a decision as to what company they would want to join, or maybe analyzing the exit interviews of employees which are leaving the organization to find what is wrong, what is probably making them leave the organization. So those things could help us better our EVPs.
Very good. One last question, one last point, one or two more points from other groups.
So maybe we can also look into account through our recruitment channels, how many are coming in through employee referrals, and even on job search websites, how if there are like the click-through rates on job search websites would also matter. I think that would give us a fair understanding as well.
Okay, thank you. Let me share you my take on this. Okay, so so if you're relying heavily on search firms, that should give you an idea. If less people are coming through employee referrals, that should give you an idea. Do major online like Glassdoor sites contain negative portrayals of what it is like to work at your organization? That should raise your hackles. Okay, I showed you the 2x2 matrix. Do we struggle to name at least 2 EVP attributes we excel in that our talent competitors do not also excel in? This is from that 2x2 matrix which I showed you of EVP versus the market. Are our offer to acceptance ratios lower than desires? Do our recruiters fail to communicate the EVP consistently? Okay. Do our talent competitors deliver any of our core EVP attributes more effectively than we do? Okay. Do our employees consistently depart to a few of our talent competitors? That should raise your hackles. Okay. So do you get an idea? Do you get a sense of what are the pointers to invest in your EVP? Does it make sense? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to end the session now. My last advice would be that make sure that your EVP delivers what you promise. If it doesn't, new employees will quickly become disengaged, disenchanted, and leave. Okay, so it has been a pleasure taking this session for you. I am leaving my attribute. Some of you do want to speak to me. You can follow me on Twitter. I sometimes attach a lot of articles and links to management thoughts and contents which appear. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn, and otherwise email it to me and I'll try and connect with you. Some of you have sent me a chat message. So these are my coordinates. You can take a screenshot. But I have 4 or 5 minutes. Varun and Abhimanyu, is that okay? Do we have that kind of time, or should we close?
5 minutes more, perhaps.
So
I
5
don't know.
minutes more is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so very quickly, one or two questions.
So I actually had one. Keeping in mind whatever you mentioned in regards to developing EVPs, how do you do that in regards to a startup? For example, when you have an already established company, you already have a set of attributes that you have developed over the years. For a startup, which is a fairly new venture, how do you develop an EVP which is strong and which gets the right employees?
A brilliant question. And Varun, I pity your professors. Huh? You're very inquisitive and I really like that. Okay, so very good question. When I started my consulting career, I wanted to focus on startups because I noticed, and that was the time when I started housing.com crisis happened and a few other similar crises happened, which happened because of leadership behavior, and they disintegrated because of leadership behavior. So the point is that a Unilever or a Maruti has taken years to come to where it was. But a startup, normally grows up very fast, and 8 out of 10 startups fail. They don't even get to productive stage. And I always tell people, unfortunately, the startup promoters are too busy chasing growth and working capital and stuff like that. They don't spend the time needed to root the culture. And when the conflicts start happening, when the organization size becomes 80 or 100 or 200, then they realize कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है और एक HR के मैनेजर को हायर कर लिया जाए. Okay, so the problem with startups is that the startup culture is a rub-off from the culture or the leadership style. Is a rub-off from its leadership style. So its leaders kind of set up the culture. Amazon, I'm sure, is the extended shadow of Jeff Bezos. Flipkart, would have been an extended shadow of the Bansal friends. So, but unfortunately, these intangible things do not get on their radar, and that is why there is an employer brand attached to it. Okay, there's an employer brand attached to a startup, but it's not fleshed out properly, and that gives rise to dissonance. So my advice always to startups is that it's good to have a great business model, but it's also important to spend a little time on these things like what kind of a culture do I want to build? And that unfortunately is ignored. Okay, one more question and we close the session.
Yash this side. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Yash.
So I had a question in the sense that for companies who engage in mass hiring, do they even have the potentiality and the position to invest a lot in EVP? Can they even afford to do so?
A lot of you guys may have worked in such companies. What is your reaction? What's your reaction? Do you think many of these companies are able to build on these attributes? Anyone can answer that? Who's now an MBA, was an engineer and working with one of these large software groups or companies? Anyone would want to answer this question of Yash? I would say that it's possible to do it. Okay, these are massive machines. These are massive machines, and why would you not be able to do it if you have, let's say one of the attributes that you pick up is that we give you developmental opportunities. For a large software company which has hired about, let's say, 20,000 engineers in the last 1 year, the best way to show them is to put them through an intensive training program and say that this will continue throughout your life. Allow them to enroll for online courses, or allow them to enroll for other programs. So, I mean, technically nothing stops these large recruiters from doing and building an EVP, okay, and delivering on that EVP. Whether they do it or not is another question, and that is for the next session. Thank you very much for your time, and I really enjoyed talking to you. I am a stickler for time, and it's exactly 3 o'clock, actually 1 minute past 3. But considering that we started 2 minutes late, I'm all right. So thank you all very much for this wonderful session, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure everyone had a lot of value to take out of this. And all of their submissions in the future are going to be definitely influenced by all that you talked about today. For all the triathlon participants, you can join the link on the website for the next event, and HR participants can drop off.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Do you by any chance have a minute?
We will connect offline.
Sure, sir. I'll send you an email right now.